mic, camera, action.
Angels in the Outfield turns 20. Hey, I'm Denny Directo, and we're diving into the E.T. vault to celebrate the Disney classic. The movie is full of modern-day A-listers, including Matthew McConaughey, and E.T. interviewed him for the first time ever on the film set. Check out what the then 23-year-old had to say.
This is actually sort of the best of both worlds. I mean, you get to fly around, you get to play baseball, you get paid for it. I mean, this is not a bad deal.
It's an American dream, isn't it? Tell you what, when they said you're gonna fly me out here to play ball for 10 weeks, and I said, and I'm getting paid for it. How about that, huh? Get to be a kid again, play ball for 10 weeks out here in Oakland Coliseum. It's pretty tough to beat.
All right. Welcome back to the Filmography, the show dedicated to watching every credited film from an actor's complete back catalogue from past debut through to present day in chronological order. Each episode, I'm joined by an esteemed guest to watch and discuss the next entry from the Focus Filmography and consider how it ranks amidst their career and whether we can trace any typecasting trends or topic traits or theatrical tics. Today's guest is MVP Maff, a true angel in the podcast sphere. Today's film is William Dear's Angels in the Outfield from 1994. We watch, you listen, and hopefully watch along too. Maff, good friend, good sir, thank you very much for volunteering to appear early on in the season 2. And I was sort of looking back at the films you covered with me, and I guess I can only apologise.
Well, no, some of them are all right. I think I did try Fight for 13 to be a bit better than what it really was.
You did a great job on that episode. You were very convincing, I have to say.
Yeah, I think I might have convinced you. Like, listening back, I kind of thought, actually, it wasn't. I think the thing with that film, I saw potential. It just never kind of hit it, and I think that was the issue with the film. But this is a completely different actor, so it's I think acting wise of how much he was in 13 and how much he's in this is kind of the same.
Yeah, that's probably true, actually.
And but like we were just saying off air, I think kind of the direction both of them kind of taken is completely different, and there's like 10 years apart really. Whereas Jason Statham was plucked and kind of picked out to do certain things and became a movie star, whereas Matthew McConaughey is kind of, I suppose he's a bit like the pretty boy who, he's just trying to get into acting and just taking whatever he can. And that sort of, some of these early films, it is kind of a bit like cameos in a way, and that, until he kind of establishes himself to, But I mean, looking at the cast in this, it's stacked, and that. So to be fair, he's going to be like a little fish in a big pond. The amount of stars that are actually in this film.
It's true. All of that's true. I think 93 was his first appearance in Dazed and Confused, which is going to become a running theme, I think, around these early movies, which is amazing how much of an impact he made for that to be his debut. That is kind of comparable to the Stath Lock Stock, I think, where you're like, whoa, who is this person? I just immediately arrive on screen. But what is different is that the Stath sort of immediately then his star kept ascending. Whereas, as you just said, you're right, McConaughey sort of slips back into obscurity for quite a while into, glorified cameo roles. It's quite interesting.
But I think,
go on, please,
I think in the year this got released, I think there were about 3 different films that he was in, and they were kind of just minor roles, and I think it was just to get his face out there, to kind of show that he could do lots of different things. And and try not to get type. I mean, I think further down the line he does get typecast a little bit and that, but I think at first it is kind of, you know, his agent has said, "Got a job for you, I'll take it."
Yeah, no, I think that's true. I mean, at this point, he's still at film school, to be fair. So I read his autobiography in preparation for the season because he's got one, which was very, very helpful. So yeah, at this point, he's early 20s and he's studying film and obviously going out and getting roles as well. But you're absolutely right. It's just kind of like, here's opportunity. Do you want to take it? And he's grasping everything with both hands. And Dazed was a small part as well. Do you know what I mean? He was cast in that for a couple of scenes. But because he was such a likable guy on set, because he was creating such an interesting character with what they were giving him, they kept giving him more and more and more and more to do, to the point where, like, he's in the final scene. He was never supposed to be. It was, you know, it was never even his character, but they rewrote it and took a character out and put him in. And so I think who he is and who he's going to become was there right from the start. But I guess it's just, you know, Linklater saw that magic and improvised and most of it, whereas here not much.
No, I mean I think the problem with this film, the main cast, it's really just two people, to be fair, and that it is just Danny Glover and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It's really just that everyone else is just, you know, background characters. Some of them kind of jump in at times, you know. I mean, again, the character list of, you know, actors are in it. It's quite amazing. You know, when I sat down and I started watching it, and I always get IMDb up just to kind of, you know, you see actors and you think, who's that? You know, and I start looking through the list and it's like, wow, they're in it. Wow, they're in it. And that, and, you know, I mean,
multiple Oscar winners in this movie.
Yeah. Well, Adrian Brody, Matthew McConaughey
himself.
And that.
Yeah.
Did Danny Glover win an Emmy that Danny Glover's won? I think.
Is he? I'm not sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you know, there are awards in this cast and that, and I mean, even it's like Neil McDonough who
McDonough,
yeah, and that when he popped up, I thought, oh wow, he played Damien Dark in the Arrowverse and that, and you know, normally you see him as a bad guy, and that, you know, in a lot of the films that he's in, and this is something completely different, and that, but yeah, I mean, with it being a Disney film as well, I did actually try to get him a little on to watch it, but he wasn't really interested. It's still, I think as well, baseball is a bit, even I'm not 100% sure. I do apologise to any American listeners, but it's like a fancy version of Our Rounders and that. But at the same point, it's like there's certain things you do know from this. It's like the theme tune for the baseball. You hear that and everyone recognises what it is. And that. So, but yeah, as I say, when you mentioned this, I thought, yeah, I can quite easily do this one. It looks like a fun little one to watch, and see where he's kind of starting.
Yeah, and it's you know, you mentioned he's a very handsome man, and he's definitely being cast at these early points because he has that kind of surfer dude look, but then he's got that kind of Texas drawl. He's like a really interesting presence, I think, on screen because he sort of looks like he's from two different worlds. He is that surfer dude, but then he's got that kind of that sexy Matthew McConaughey voice as well. So I can see why casting directors are like, oh yeah, get that guy. And I'll read a bit of what I'm doing with season 2 because I've got his autobiography. It's called Green Lights. If he mentions the films in it, and he doesn't all the time, but Angels in the Outfield does make an appearance in it.
Right.
I'm reading little snippets out. So I'm looking forward to sharing a little bit of that with you when we get there towards the end and how he feels about like the process of getting this part and who he was at this point in his life.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Again, like previous with Jason Statham, it was like, how many of them films have I actually seen? And then when you started going through them, I thought, yep, seen that.
Mm.
Now, I've not seen as many as Matthew McConaughey films and that, but when I started looking for the list, I thought, actually, I have seen him. I just don't think, especially in the early ones, I don't think I really recognised who he was, because I do think it was a case of he was just taking roles just to kind of get his name out there. The more directors he worked with, the more that he would know, and then the more would think, you know. And from what I've heard, he's meant to be a really nice guy, and that, you know, if he gets himself out there, he's just going to get more work.
Yeah, I think the place where the Stath and the McConaughey Venn diagram crosses over is in who they seem to be as people. They, you know, grateful, thankful, don't seem to be too changed by their success. And, you know, McConaughey's a massive load of success himself as well. So, yeah, that is another thing I think that drew me to him. Somebody that I can watch for over 2 years needs to be somebody that's likable. I mean, somebody who's a wanker is going to be really painful to watch for that long. But knowing who he is in real life and the image he projects, he seems quite still quite down to earth. That's not the right phrase. That's not the one I want. But he just seems, you know, like his roots.
Relatable.
He seems yeah, that's nice. Relatable. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, he's very again. He picked a very, very good-looking guy, and that, you know. But
wish fulfillment, we call that, don't we, Maff? I think.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
these guys wishing I was them. Yeah,
but he doesn't seem, for the better word, he doesn't seem to be a dick about it. He seems to be quite humble, and quite, you know, feeling blessed with what he actually has and what he's able to get at. You know, I mean, I don't think he could ever do his filmography because it would probably too much, but like Keanu Reeves, you know, and again, you don't hear a lot about Matthew McConaughey in the news. It's not like he's fallen out of this nightclub, you know, he's been pulled over for this and things like that. He kind of just gets on with his job and that. And I think, you know, there's a lot of, you know, football stars and actors and things like that. You know, the best ones are the ones who you don't actually hear that much about.
Yeah, he's more interested in the profession than he is in being a celebrity. He's an actor, not a celebrity, really.
Yeah, exactly. And that, so it's exciting to go along this one.
I mean, you know, I guess he could have been a celebrity. You know, he's got a famous model wife and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, you're right. I think it's a path he's chosen to take, which is really interesting. And there is this, it's going to take a while. It's going to take me quite a few episodes of smaller roles, of cameos, of not great performances. But then suddenly, around about the end of the decade, things just suddenly blow up for him. He gets like a Time to Kill, and he starts, you know, he works with Spielberg, he works with Robert Zemeckis, and there's clearly it's like he's arrived, it's his moment, but he does have to put his dues in a little bit until he gets there.
Yeah. Again, I mean, you know, looking through his IMDb and that, you know, I mean, there's certain films it's like, I've never heard of that. I probably have seen them when, you know, they're probably on TV because, you know, 1995, we just had the TV.
Yeah.
And that other video shop. But then, like you say, once you get into like 2000s, that seems to be where it's really, you know, Wedding Planner, Rain of Fire, which, you know, I can't remember who you've got on for that, but that'll be quite an interesting one. But it does seem to all of a sudden, and I think he kind of finds a foothold in acting to a certain degree. You know, there's a lot of rom-coms that he's in because of, I suppose, the way he looks. But then again, he then does a different film, and it's a complete, and it's quite easy to kind of flit it to something different. He's not just the kind of the pin-up, you know, I mean, a bit like Ryan Reynolds, and I know we've kind of mentioned lots of different actors here, but, you know, Ryan Reynolds kind of was the pin-up kind of person, but then he tried his best to try to do odd stuff because he didn't just want to be labelled with one thing. Yeah. And that.
The one I always think of in that instance is Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
I mean, is there anybody at certain points in his life that was better looking than Brad Pitt? Probably not. Like, just ridiculous at points in his life. And he didn't want to be Pretty Boy Brad Pitt. He wanted to be interesting actor Brad Pitt. And then I think somebody like Margot Robbie is maybe a female equivalent.
Charlize Theron as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great.
Like,
There's lots. You're absolutely right. These people who are, to quote Zoolander, really, 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 really ridiculously good looking, but are also very talented actors. So just because they're good looking doesn't mean they're not good actors. Agreed.
I think that's one of the things. I think sometimes certain ones I think for them they know they're so good looking. Everyone keeps telling them this all the time, and the pin-ups and the model shoots. I think sometimes they feel that they have to do a bit more to prove that look, I'm not just a pretty face. I can actually do this job.
Yeah, DiCaprio is another one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there is so many that are kind of out there that they do really push themselves to do these strange roles. I mean, maybe not, and no offense to you, Daniel Radcliffe, but maybe not as Pretty Boy, but at the same point, he's done the same thing. He's,
I suppose he's not been typecast. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a bit different because he was a child when he came on. So, most, I don't fancy him, but, most people probably wouldn't have done anyway because he was a kid. But then, I don't know if you ever seen, there's a film called Jungle, and it's such an odd film, but it's really, really good. And it's something completely different to what he's done before. He did Horns and...
he was a fighting
Swiss Army Man.
Or something. Yeah.
These odd films because they think, well, I need to do... It's that Disney thing where, you get a lot of Disney actors who then go... I'm just going to go out there and do something completely wild because I'm fed up of being that child star. And I feel that this is kind of what Matthew McConaughey were doing. He was trying to take roles, whatever it would be to a certain degree, just to kind of get himself out there. And then it's like, I can do this other stuff as well.
Well, we're going to see that in the next episode, which we'll talk about towards the end, obviously. But yeah, so that's going to be quite a bit different. So speaking of his roles, when you look through his lists, I'm the same as you. I mean, obviously, the Stath, there was a reason why I launched this show with the Stath, because I was a mega fan. And I think it was like at most half a dozen. I think it was less that I hadn't seen before embarking upon the project. So it was mostly rewatches. For me, though, I'm the same as you. McConaughey, I'm much lower down. I reckon I've seen about 50% of his films. What do you think? Like, I'm going to cover 52 movies. I'm going to cover the first season of True Detective as well. So there's going to be 53 episodes, but 52 credited appearances in the movies. What do you reckon? Where are you at?
I think I'm probably under 50%, but I think the problem is as we go through the first few, I might actually start as I'm, I normally do try to watch along and watch them. I may think, actually, yes, I've seen this before, and I just didn't realize it. I mean, it's like Tropic Thunder. He's in that, but for like 10 minutes, really. It's just a very small little role, and that. I mean, you see the casting, then you see kind of interviews and that just seems like it was just such a laugh, and pretty much anyone were like, "Yeah, I'll be on that just to have a bit of fun."
Did Ben Stiller recently come out saying, "I've got nothing to apologise for. I'm proud of Tropic Thunder." I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's
pushing buttons, but knowingly, right?
That's the thing. There's a difference. I mean, the big thing is the Robert Downey Jr. actor in it, but they know what they're doing. And the thing is, they've got another actor in there who's kind of like, yeah, but you can't do that because that's me. So they're playing off each other, and it's like a Deadpool, which is in Deadpool. Spoilers.
Yes, I know. Yeah, we're gonna have that. What a shame! I'm gonna have to cover Deadpool and Wolverine. Yeah,
I think I put my name down for that one as well.
I think you did. Yeah.
But I think it's that thing where they just. I lost your train of thought there. We mentioned Deadpool. My mind just
the idea of like, if you're like being knowing, if you're calling things out, then you're not.
Yeah, I think it's knowing what you kind of taking the mick at, and kind of yeah, that's why I said the dipple. It's that wink to the screen of you know what we're doing here. You know, it's not meant in here. It's not meant in upsetting anybody. It's just meant in a bit of fun, and I'm just giving a wink to camera. And majority of people, I think, are fine with it. You know, there's obviously some people won't be, but it don't matter what film you pick, you'll find someone that don't like something.
100%. Yeah, I agree with that completely. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this as a really seamless. See if you can notice the segue, Maff. I'm going to really seamlessly, because although I'm going to jump right towards the end of this movie, there's a moment in Angels in the Outfield where I love what you said there. This sense of like, knowing what you're doing, you're in control of the situation. You're almost like interacting with the audience. You know what their reaction is going to be, so you're inviting that on. I think that's very true of Tropic Thunder. I'm not sure it's true of Angels in the Outfield. So I want to know how you feel about this. When Christopher Lloyd's Al, the main angel, appears to Joseph Gordon-Levitt's Roger, who I think is 12, in the movie right towards the end, and he says, "Oh yeah, you know that guy over there, Mel Clark, the pitcher? Yeah, he's going to be dead in 6 months because he smoked too many fags." I was like, "Whoa, what? This is a Disney movie. What's happening right here?" It felt like a really misjudged moment to me.
Yeah, I think the issue with it being a Disney film is that kind of it did come out a bit of a left field, and the thing is, you do kind of see he's got a problem with his shoulder. He's coughing a lot, so you can kind of see, yeah, all right. I think that's put in there for the simple fact that there's a moment then when he stood on the mound and George Knox says, Danny Glover's character George Knox says, "Is there an angel out there?" And he looks and he says, "There is, but just one." And it's because he's going to be an angel, and that, and I think you can see that toying thing of when he kind of decides to make that move to kind of go forward and start flapping his arms. I've got to admit, at that point when everyone started doing it and everyone's kind of believing, I'm thinking, yep, there must be a bit of dust in it. I mean, Disney films do that sometimes.
They do.
They know how to pull it. But I think it's a little bit out of place. But then again, in a way, it's not, because Disney do have a lot of death in a lot of the children's films.
That's true. Yeah.
Frozen, the parents get killed.
Mm-hmm.
Lion King, the parent gets killed. There's so many films out there, and I suppose it's a way of trying to introduce, because in a way it's kind of a nod towards smoking as bad guys.
100%. Yeah, I'm all for that. I'm all for what you're saying. This idea of pushing kids' boundaries, I think, is really important, and I think we've kind of lost it in some kid-friendly stuff. Compared to the stuff we used to watch probably when we were younger. I'm sure every generation says this, but Watership Down. Fuck me. Why are you showing that to a kid? And I know there's all these things going on at the moment, isn't there? Because of the Minecraft movie trailer, and there's the arguments of it's for kids, and then everyone's posting all these other movies which have, as you said, these grown-up moving moments that are for kids too. But I don't know. It just, I'm all for it, and I think the scene could have played fine if it'd been in 6 months, unfortunately, he's going to be an angel. Something's going to happen to him. It was just they might as well just let a siren go off and have a big, a big no entry sign with a cigarette through it, a Ghostbuster symbol, but with a cigarette. It felt that there was no build up to that moment. It's not that you saw him smoking earlier on, because you didn't, because it's a Disney movie, but it was just a bit horns blaring,
No, we do see him smoking, because I think there's a bit when he stood at the side.
Okay.
And that I think it's before he gets put in. He'd been warming his arm up, and I think he might have been smoking there.
Maybe I missed it. I forgot.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure at some point we do kind of see him. But again, it's that awkward time as well where you've gone from the 80s where smoking was just cool and everyone did it, to kind of, I suppose now, now they do kind of try and make out that you shouldn't be smoking and things like that. this was that in between point, and that so try make people aware of the fact that this thing that we've done for the last 50, 60 years of people who footballers who'd come off at half time and have a cigarette and a pint.
You mean the fact that we used to advertise smoking as being healthy for you? Not right. I know, crazy.
It's just as times move along, it's kind of like and I suppose a Disney film, parents are going to see it, kids are going to see it. If a kid sees the parents smoking, they see this, and then they turn around and is like, "Mummy, Daddy," is it a bit of a guilt trip to kind of say, "Look, maybe I shouldn't be doing this." So yeah, it's an odd one, but I don't think it's too out of place personally.
No, totally fair. Maybe it was just my I just thought it's quite funny, and there's a couple of moments in this movie where that feels watching it now in 2024 compared to 1994 perhaps could be viewed in a different way, and this was just one of those ones where it's like, hey kid, just going to ruin your whole worldview. This guy that you start to look up to is going to be dead. I just thought it was quite funny. And the other one was when Danny Glover's character, as you said, George Knox, he's the coach of the baseball team. I realise we haven't spoken about the plot of the movie yet. We will do at some point. When he turns up to see Roger and to see JP at the foster home they're in, and he's like out on the doorstep and he's all flustered and nervous and he's got a photo and just, I was just watching and thinking like, that could play really, really different. A nervous old man, like middle-aged man at a kid's doorstep, nervous about meeting them. I was just like, oh shit, if this wasn't a Disney movie, we're looking at a Rolf Harris biography here instead or something. I'm not sure.
Well, I think without going to the thing is, times have changed an awful lot, so people are more aware of it. And I think if anything, it's like, when I'm at playground with my little one sometimes, and you're playing there and you see other kids fall over, your instinct is to pick them up, and then as soon as your instinct to do that is then I can't, which. I know I'm a decent guy. I know, that's not the sort of thing I would do. But the problem is now society is a case of sometimes you can see a child hurt themselves and your instinct is to kind of help them. And then you're there because of the implications of what could happen. And that. So that scene nowadays would be kind of, hello? Childlike.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas, but back then, it is an innocent thing. At the same point, you could question that this guy is starting to hang around with two children an awful lot. But they're gonna. It's Mo's assistant who I'd be probably more worried about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The Taylor Negron character. Yeah. Well, actually, I mean, considering a year or two before he was in Last Boy Scout playing a complete psychopath, I can't see him in anything without thinking of the Milo character in Last Boy Scout. So as soon as he was on screen, I was like thinking exactly that. And the kids are spilling mustard on him and soda, and
any point now he's just going to turn. And
yeah, exactly. It's like an origin story for him. This is how he became the psychopath in Last Boy Scout. He quits this job, and he's like, "That's it. I'm a henchman for hire. Forget it."
I'm trying. There's another film that I'm trying to think he was in that it popped out to me. I don't know what it was now.
He's just got one of those faces, hasn't he? He just looks like a henchman. And that's I don't mean that. I'm sure he's a really nice guy in real life, but he just has that kind of look that is really classic, isn't it?
The thing is, in this one, he's got his hair slicked back. He looks a little bit more innocent. But then you do kind of get them other roles where he gets the glasses and he gets the hair slicked a different way. And then you think, he's that kind of, what's it, that kind of gangster, that Italian-American gangster that you would see in like a mafia movie that you'd think, I'm going to stay clear of you.
Yeah, definitely. He's not to be messed with, and these kids are, really putting themselves at risk as they totally mistreat him as this kind of run around dog's body, isn't he? Because they keep sending him off, don't they, to fetch stuff so they can communicate with the angels, and
that's what kids would do, though, wouldn't they? They would like, see how far we can push this.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And
absolutely.
you know, this guy is basically on our beck and call, and we can get, you know, nachos, popcorn, hot dogs, you know, coffee.
Mm.
I mean, the coffee bit were quite amusing. It was like when he asked for coffee, and he's like, "You drink coffee?" And that, it did go a little bit creepy at that point. But yeah, he's one of those that he seems a bit odd in the thing, but I think the way they kind of portray him in this, I mean, he seems a bit more kind of camp in this more than anything else. So I think that gives him that kind of more of a nicer side to him than when you see him in Last Boy Scout.
Yeah, that's fair. Him and Neil McDonough are in the same movie, aren't they? They're both in that kind of buffoonish, outlandish, slapsticky style comedy. Like Taylor Negron's character, he like sits on the nachos, doesn't he? And as we said, gets spattered with stuff every time he's at the baseball, to the point it's almost like an airplane running joke. That by the end he's in like a beekeeper outfit, isn't he? Speaking of the Stath, Neil McDonough's character is wow. I wonder what he thinks of this performance when he looks back on it, because it is clownish. It's like pantomime. Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, you and I watched the same like faux, like ESPN like news story, and he's turned up for that, playing the character that he played in this. So he clearly doesn't mind. He clearly is kind of happy to revisit this character.
I think when he was younger, then he does kind of have that more kind of comedic, jokey persona.
It's almost
about
like Jim Carrey levels, though, isn't it? It's kind of like wacky.
Like, I'm going to do these silly things. Whereas I think nowadays, he seems to kind of have that, you know, when sometimes bad guys just kind of lean forward and their eyes go a bit dark and that. He has that kind of look of him and that. But he's also got them bright blue eyes that kind of just stand out. There's something menacing about him that you're just not quite sure about. You're just like, oh, and that. But yeah, it's a different. When I saw him in this, I thought, oh, is he going to be a bit like a badass kind of? And he's not. He's just got a mouthful of chewing gum all the time, and he's doing them stupid kind of before he throws a pitch and that. And he's there for comedic effect, really.
He was in Justified. He was in season 3 as one of the main villains that Tony and I covered for season's greeting.
I'm catching up on. I've not watched Justified, and I've just started watching season 1.
Amazing. I'm jealous you're watching it for the first time. Talking of good-looking guys, Timothy Oliphant.
Yeah.
I won't spoil anything. He plays a villain, is all I'll say. Unsurprisingly so. But Tony dropped a really interesting knowledge bomb on me during our recording of season 3, wherein the reason he now is always cast as villains is because he won't do on-screen kisses. Because he doesn't want to break like. Yeah. So it's really fascinating that he doesn't want to, like, in his mind, kiss another woman because he's happily married and stuff. So he can't be a leading man because a lot of those roles involve a smooch, whereas villains just tend to kill people.
There's a few actors out there that it's like Keanu Reeves is very much like that. There's several actors that do that, and you can see them in pictures sometimes. They're kind of stood there and their arms are not touching and things like that, which it's nice and very respectful, the fact that they're kind of like, I'm not going to, that might be a breakout role and it might turn me into a superstar, but it goes against what I believe. And that. And I think he does normally play a really good villain.
Yeah, and he's also really good at it. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, who he is one of the baseball players, as we said, isn't he? So it's Matthew McConaughey, so is Adrian Brody, so is Tony Danza, destined to die of lung cancer, sadly, in this movie. And they're playing for the California Angels, I believe, who later in real life become the Anaheim Angels and stuff, I think. And they've got this complicated history. I'm not a baseball expert, much like yourself. And they're crap, basically. Like the worst team in the league. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, Roger, supports them. I love that scene with him and JP are watching from the tree. Using binoculars to just see like a tiny corner of the stadium.
You see, that it's funny because when watching that, it's like just the bit before they'd been out on the bike. In fact, no, I think
that's the opening credits, isn't it?
Yeah, they'd been out on the bike and they kind of came home and Maggie's like, where have you been? Oh, we've just been out and about. And I kind of thought, that's what we did when we were kids. You know, we knew what time to come home because the street lights came on. You know, that, and sometimes you see things like that and you just think kids these days are missing out on so much because, you know, I know we all love our technology, but there's so much that miss out. But that scene in this, you know, them sat in the tree watching the game, you know, I've been to football matches where you're kind of trying to look through, you know, the little bit of a gap so you don't have to pay to go in because you're skinning your goal and that. And it kind of brings that back. You think, oh, I missed that.
Yeah, it's that sense of adventure that you have as that kid, isn't it? That anything can happen. It's that thing which, you know, Spielberg tapped in so well into, and things like Stand By Me tapped into so well. And of course, then lastly, Stranger Things. I agree. It's a really nice start to the movie. But part of this opening, as you said, is that his bad boy biker dad, played by Dermot Mulroney, is basically giving him up for adoption. And this is why Roger makes this wish on a star, doesn't he? Because his dad says, "Oh, we can be a family again if the Angels win the league," which is meant to be that, like, if pigs can fly, you've got no chance. And so the Roger makes a wish, doesn't he? Like, for the Angels to be a really good team and to start winning so he can be with his dad again, which is kind of sweet. But he's better without him because his dad's a douchebag.
Yeah. I'll say, again, it's enough one of those Disney tropes, isn't it? You know, here's a parent who just is not always a good parent. And I think in that scene when he's like, when he kind of, his sister, Roger, you know, we're not going to be apart. And then he kind of, I don't think he signs up there. He just goes out, doesn't he, at that point? And then Roger kind of just, Roger doesn't understand what his dad's actually telling him.
Yeah.
And that. And it's just, I mean, I think they do mention the mum. Did the mum die? On that, because it did. I don't think it just says if your mum was still here or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's like alluded to, isn't it? Yeah.
But it's like it's a weird one because I mean I've got 3 kids. One's biologically mine. The other 2, you know, aren't mine biologically, but I brought them up since they were like 2 and 3. You know, they're 19 and 20 now, but they're my kids, and I don't understand. I can't see why, you know, a dad wouldn't be there and be part of the life. They're a pain in the ass at times, but I love them to bits. And I just think sometimes when you have someone like that, in a way, you're probably better off than not being there. Because I mean, it's horrible to say, but if their heart's not in it, they're just going to mess the kids up. And you just kind of see the scene, and it's like it's quite heartbreaking because you're thinking, I understand what he's saying, just unfortunately Roger doesn't. Yeah,
he's not old enough at this point, is he, to understand the subtlety of the way he delivered it? But I think that's because the dad isn't brave enough to actually say the words at this point either, is he?
No.
But I thought the moment when he makes the wish is quite sweet. I didn't notice this, but I'm sure you read the same trivia that there's a Mickey in the stars.
The stars, yeah.
Whatever, if you want to find that. But I thought like the moment was done quite nicely. It's kind of like almost like a big wish fulfillment moment.
Yeah.
And I like that he did the whole, like, if there's a God, if you can make it work, amen. Oh, and a woman. I thought that was quite like forward thinking for 1994 and a kids Disney movie in this way. Yeah.
I mean, it seemed that thing of he says his prayers that he knows what to say. You know, we say it with George on a night time before he goes to bed, and they're the ones that you just, you know, you can just spiel out quite easily. But the prayers that you say that you're on your own, sometimes that's quite hard to do because you're like, I don't know how I'm meant to ask this. This isn't our Father in heaven. It's not that. It's something different. And I think it's quite touching. It's quite real and quite, you know, personal, the way that he does it. And it is that awkwardness of amen, or an a woman, and that, because he wants to make sure it's right. He wants to make sure what he's done hits and, you know, and comes true.
Yeah. I think he's pretty good in this, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, at this point. You know, he's always been, from very early on, he's been a child actor, hasn't he? But I think another one, really, who made great pains to not get typecast. And when he stepped out of expectations. I think he was always really, really good. But I think there's early signs here even of being almost kind of too good for the material. I don't think he is here, but I think you can kind of see the promise of where he's going to go already at this early stage.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's just him and Danny Glover, really, in the film. They're the main two that you kind of deal with throughout the film. And it's a lot on a young kid's shoulder to kind of... It's not a case of he just says a few lines here and there. He's... There's big spiels that he kind of comes out with, and you think, it's quite impressive for a 13-year-old to be able to do that.
Yeah. And what did you think of Danny Glover? Do you think he was any good in it?
Yeah, apparently... I've forgotten his name now. The guy from Police Story and Airplane.
Leslie Nielsen.
Leslie Nielsen was apparently going to do that role. And then they just felt that Danny Glover could kind of have that anger. It would fit it more for him. I think it's good because you kind of do have that kind of that he has a kind face, but he also has that face where all of a sudden you think, oof, I think I've crossed the line here. You know,
that's true.
He doesn't say he's too old for this shit at any point. But,
no, that's a real shame.
But he does have that kind of demeanor about him, the fact that he does go from this. I mean, you know, that brilliant bit where Roger says to him, he says, "Yeah, I don't think they're coming because you're swearing too much." And I was like, "Oh, right." And he kind of walks away, and he goes to sit, and he kind of trying not to swear, and then he yells at the team and says, "No more profanity." And you think, and again, you can kind of see that he's trying to go along with this storyline, you know, this kind of what this kid's saying, and you know, yeah, he sees it a bit of a lucky charm, but he's willing to kind of put his faith in there, which at the end of the day, that's what the film's about.
Yeah,
you know, it's putting your faith in something.
Yeah, that's nice. I read that he did it because he basically, you know, was tired of being in movies his teenage kids couldn't watch, his teenage daughter couldn't watch, which I think a lot of actors do. It's like, well, I'll do something that I can actually take them to the premiere for as well. And I agree with you. Like, he has got, I love it in Lethal Weapon when he starts laughing. He just has the most uplifting, happy, laughing face I think of any actor I've ever seen. I know that's a big statement because he's normally stern. I agree with you. And here he's really stern as well. But in Lethal Weapon, when he cracks and he laughs, there's just something that just...
It's infectious.
I can imagine being in a room with him just like totally lighting up the room.
I mean, I know there's a meme of Samuel Jackson where he does the kind of the crazy dad eyes. I think Danny Glover's kind of got that. He's got that kind of happy, jokey, smiley thing, but you step out of line and all of a sudden the eyes kind of come out and you think, oof. And I think he's perfect for him. I think he kind of has that fatherly figure, which, I mean, especially works in this film and that.
Yeah, that's his arc, really, isn't it? Is that he learns to, as you said, like that, put his faith in people, but also let people in, really. He's felt hard done by, hasn't he? He's felt like things have gone against him. And his arc is to let people help him be the best version of himself.
Yeah, because, I mean, he says... the end of film when Roger's been to court and he's been handed into the system, and he's like, he grew up without a dad. His mum tried to do the best, and there was 5 of them. He says, and he went through his life hating people and not letting people in. He's like, you know, don't turn into me. You know, see this as a kind of a stepping stone to kind of, you know, let people in and trust people and, you know, do what you were doing before this happened. Because, you know, that's a real person who you are, not this person who's going to turn bitter and twisted. And it's a journey for kind of everybody in this, you know, even little parts here and there. It's, again, I mean, yeah, Disney films do take on this journey, but you can see... And bits of it is believable, obviously. Yeah.
Well,
okay, not everything. Matthew McConaughey flying through the air.
Yeah, not Adrian Brody's home run that he gets where the ball's zipping around as if it's being controlled by a magnet.
I actually, that bit there was actually quite interesting because I thought when he kind of went and stood there to kind of, he swings twice and misses, and the third one you would expect the ball would be played and he would just knock it out of the park, and it doesn't. I mean, if anything, it's more weird the fact that it kind of slows down and stops in front of him, and he just taps into the floor and runs. But I think that's one thing that I did like because like they're not making him to become all of a sudden a superstar that can knock things out of the park and become home runs. Mel Clark and that Tony Danza's character that's different because he could do that. They were saying previously that's what he was. He had this right arm that was amazing at being able to do it. Adrian Brody's character wasn't. He was the worst batter. So if all of a sudden he just turned up and just knocked it out of the park, like I think one of the other guys did it earlier on, and he shattered the bat.
Oh, it's the stop, isn't it? I don't know what you call it. The guy that catches the ball.
Yeah.
Tony Longo, I think his name is the actor. He's really familiar. He's like a really big dude.
Yeah. But I mean, it's it shows a different side. I think it wouldn't have worked if he'd just come out there and just swung and just if anything, it made everyone kind of think this is weird, and there's something's going on, obviously, but it didn't just turn him into a superstar where all of a sudden he would think he could go out and knock home runs all the time.
I think I would have liked some sort of middle ground. Like I sort of buy the Ben Williams like magic catch. We've seen Jordan, like he used to look like he flew. Like Cristiano Ronaldo, to be fair, at points when he used to,
when he jumped.
how he used to get so high to head it. So it's kind of silly and it's magical, but it's kind of stretching reality, but still believable, as you said. That it's just that bit with Adrian Brody when the ball's like literally dipping all around the pitch and it's hitting people in the face, and it's like it's a remote control drone or something. It's that bit I thought was just a bit too.
Yeah, because I think Al's on the side, kind of juggling the ball around as if to kind of be mimicking the the ball there.
Doing keepy up and stuff, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, I do think more the fact that it stopped. If it had just slowed down enough, and then he could have hit it, but the fact that it kind of stopped and just hovered in air. But that's the only thing in the film where you kind of go, oof, I think you're pushing it a bit, Disney here.
No, I agree. It's interesting because when I was watching it, I was trying to think about other baseball movies I've seen, which is not a lot, but Major League was one I really liked when I was younger. Wesley Snipes and Charlie Sheen. And that had that sense of like turning the underdogs into excellent players, didn't it?
Which I think in the 90s there was a lot of these kind of sport films where you've got Mighty Ducks and things like that. It's these sports teams that the
underdog story, isn't it?
It's the underdog, and the thing is, everyone kind of cheers for that underdog. And everyone wants 100%. Them to do well, so it works. And that, don't change something that works.
No, and the producer, one of them, Joe Roth, clearly doesn't want to change anything because he produced Major League and he produced Rookie of the Year and he produced this all like in the spate of like kind of 5 years. So clearly, he had a formula and he was happy to stick to it.
Did he do Angels in the Outback and the Outback?
There's Angels in the end zone, isn't there?
End zone,
Angels in the infield. They ran out. Like they couldn't be bothered to get a third sport. They came back to baseball, which is really shit. Why isn't it like Angels in the? I don't know hockey terms, but on the rink or something.
Yeah.
I guess Mighty Ducks have been done.
Mighty Ducks had done that though.
Yeah, it's just a bit shit. It came back to baseball. It's a great question, and I didn't bother looking. I'm sorry.
But I think the thing is, in the UK, baseball's not really a thing. I mean, I know they have like 130 odd games a year or something like that, which is crazy, and that's like they're playing like nearly every other day. But it's not a big thing. But we know in America, it is one of the major things. And I think it is a bit alien for us. I mean, American football again. growing up, you would see on Channel 4, American football used to be on there quite often. So I used to watch them, like Washington Redskins
on Sunday
because,
night. Yeah.
yeah, and you kind of get. I mean, I still never understood it really what were going on, but it was rugby with pads on, but you can't. Baseball was never really kind of shown over it, so it's a little bit kind of alien to us at times. But then again, I've seen several of the baseball films, Field of Dreams, and that. You're watching it and think, I don't understand the sport, but I get the story.
Yeah, Bull Durham was a really good one as well with Kevin Costner. I don't know if you ever watched that. It's more about the relationships and drama than it is about the actual sport, but that's a really good one too. Yeah, I agree with you. I think
Moneyball.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it has to be classed as a both movie, wouldn't it? Yeah. I think the film's not bothered about the sport stuff, really, is it?
It's a team, kind of showing a team camaraderie of them trying to kind of, these no hopers to become,
it's like almost kind of Jerry Maguire-ish that, the sport is in the background, really, and the characters are what matter.
Yeah. There's a story, there's a point, and we'll just fit a sport in there to kind of fit it. It could, like you said, it could have been ice hockey, basketball, baseball, American football. It could have been tiddlywinks, and it still would have.
There you go. Angels in the 3-point zone. To come back to the infield is just lazy. No, he didn't produce either of the other two.
Right.
So I just had a quick scan as you were talking. No, he didn't. I'm afraid. So, but he'd had enough by this point. Clearly, 3 were enough.
Yeah, but again, it's. I mean, we're here to really talk about Matthew McConaughey, and I think he's only got a few lines in this. But
more than his last movie where he had 2, but not a lot.
But when he's on screen, you do kind of know. I mean, again, he's good looking, but like you said, that accent kind of sticks out, and that and the thing is, maybe because I'm watching it and I'm thinking, right, I'm watching this because of him, and that he kind of stood out a bit more. But there is a presence when he is on screen, and that. But again, I don't know if that's because I was watching the film for him.
Yeah, I'm sure it's partly that. But I mean, other than Danny Glover, who's, as you said, he's kind of in the baseball team, he's the coach. He's the main character of the team.
Yeah.
Although I'm not convinced baseball coaches wear the kit at the same time as the players. Then you've got Tony Danza as the pitcher, haven't you? Who's got the kind of comeback story where, as you said, like he's not been allowed to play, he's had an injury. And really, he's probably, between him and the catcher, he's probably the next most prominent player on the team, isn't he, McConaughey? He has his is the catch, which starts off the Angel stuff. He has the circular narrative where in the first game, him and the other fielder run for the ball, they bump, don't they? And he drops it. And then in the final match,
foreshadowing there.
Oh, well, it's lovely, isn't it? Chekhov's catch. They exactly the same thing happens, isn't it? And they call to each other and he manages to catch it and stuff. So he kind of has the most to do, I would have said, other than the people we've already been talking about.
The others are just kind of there.
Yeah.
That,
like Neil McDonough's just a clownish buffoon, as we said, and Adrian Brody just is there. He doesn't really do anything other than that one bunt, as they call it.
Yeah, it is that thing of, again, he just seems to have a bit more of a presence there, and that, and
agree.
They do kind of, and they do have a few lines in it. They do bump into each other, but that bit later on, it's even when he does that catch and he puts his arm through the wall, like it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
kind of brings it back, and it's, so that they do use a fair bit. It's not a big speaking role. It's just
no.
But again, maybe that's because I'm kind of watching out for him.
He looks good in the uniform. He's got that McConaughey blonde hair and looks. I mean, he's got his shirt off 9 minutes in the changing room. They make sure they linger on that shot for us because he's already in good shape at this point. So,
and why not? I mean, this happened in the Stath. We used to keep track of how many times we got to see the Stath.
Yeah, This is the first shot off for McConaughey, but it will certainly not be the last. Some movies he's barely got a shirt on at all. But if I had his body, I'd probably walk around in the middle of winter with my shirt off as well.
Yeah, I want to say. I mean, I'm more the dad bod than the
I hear you.
athletic bod.
Yeah.
And that I think I'm comfortable. I've been well fed.
And I think he, back to Dazed and Confused, and what we were saying about him as a person as well, I think he just was happy to be there. Like, I watched an interview with him at the time with E Entertainment News, whatever it's called, ET News or Entertainment Tonight, whatever it is. And he's on set, he's on the baseball field, he's sat in his chair at this point, and they come up to him saying, like, what's life like? And, you're new to this acting game. And he says, well, I get to play baseball and I get paid for it. And you know what he says next? This is all right. Only one, unfortunately. But, so, he's getting paid money and he's having a good laugh for some camaraderie with some mates. He's playing baseball. And, life is good. Why would he say no? Why would he not be happy?
So I guess this means you're going to quit acting. You're just going to do baseball.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? No, both of it. Tell you what, if you play baseball, you laugh. That's what was so great about coming out here when they said, you got to play ball for 10 weeks in Oakland. And then I found out I'm getting paid for it. I mean, is this America or what? This is all right.
Well, yeah, I mean, actually, it's kind of what I'd read before. You were getting paid $48,000 just to act and play baseball.
Yeah, good times.
I
think you read it as well, didn't you? How much he got paid for his cameo? Did you read that too in the last movie?
No.
Did you see that? Okay, so $48,000. You're right. It's pretty decent money. Let's be fair. I think he said it was something like 10 weeks' work. That's not to be sniffed at, is it? For My Boyfriend's Back that he was in before this, he got paid $150.
Right. Yeah.
So he is rolling in it. That's a pretty significant pay rise.
Yeah. That's kind of like when you finally get your first pay slip and you've not got emergency tax on there. At last.
Yeah,
it's like, I actually get paid money now. But yeah, I mean, if someone says to you, come and play sport, have a bit of a laugh, and we're going to pay you a lot of money for doing it, you're going to go out and do it. And it's, I'm not surprised that you got the bug to go out there and, and to try all these different films to kind of, because the thing is, it's not just about getting his name out there and his face out there, it's experience as well. Each time he works with a different actor, he can learn off them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. William Deere, he's not a Spielberg name, but he made Harry and the Hendersons.
Mm.
He knows what he's doing. That's another classic of my childhood. I'm sure many other people's childhoods as well. So yeah, the experience on the set, working with these people, learning a craft, and again, it's something he comes back to a lot in his biography. This sense of like being present in the moment and being present with the people that are around you is the best part of life, essentially, is what he talks about a lot. So, yeah, I think that's just who he is as a person. I'm sure he was doing that here already and making the most of this time.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I think we've done a great job of talking about Angels in the Outfield for nearly an hour when there's probably 5 minutes worth of Matthew McConaughey in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's more than the... what was it, Collateral?
Yeah, that's true. Well, my Boyfriend's Back was like Collateral.
Oh, right, okay.
It's that for like he literally is in it for one scene, has 2 lines, and he's out. Obviously, you haven't got to hear that episode yet because it's not been released. Anything else from Angels in the Outfield? Do you think not just McConaughey that's worth talking about? I think that we haven't covered.
I know it did good. It was first 24. And it ended up making 72, so it like almost tripled itself. Well,
yes, there's a reason why it got the sequels, right?
Yeah. So, but again, it's a simple premise, and and it works, and that. But I think as well, the main actors in there, they kind of do push it forward, and they do kind of the sell it. Even when Christopher Lloyd is just, when he turns up, obviously. Doc Brown, you just love that scattiness about him, and that he just, as I say, it's a stacked cast. When you start looking through and seeing who's in there, it's like wow, and obviously a lot of these are kind of at the start of their kind of the journey. A lot of them are, and that, you know, and you do just throw in a few of them older ones who really they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And again, that's probably where some of these younger ones are like, you know, speaking to, you know, Christopher Lloyd and Danny Glover and, you know, is it Brenda Fricklin who plays
Brenda
Maggie?
Fricker. Yeah.
You know, just give me some tips, you know, and yeah, it's a definite tick in the box.
Yeah, I agree. And much like you know, I'm watching it, and by the end, I couldn't help but getting a little bit caught up. For me, it was the press conference scene. I almost called it a courtroom, but it wasn't. But the press conference scene when they're going to potentially sack Danny Glover's character because he's admitted that he's been that his lucky charm is these two boys, but it's because angels are on the field, real angels, not just the ones in the uniform, and all this stuff. So they're going to sack him. And then when Maggie, Brenda Fricker's character, gives a speech.
That's brilliant. That is.
All the angels stand up and like I'll only play for you kind of I am Spartacus moment. I was sat there thinking like, I should not be getting caught up in this. This is a mawkish, sentimental, manipulative Disney movie. It knows exactly what it's doing and it's bloody working.
But the line that Maggie says in that when she says, you know, when someone scores his touchdown and he crosses himself and thanks God.
Yeah.
And that,
oh yeah. And why is that okay? Yeah.
Why is that okay? But just because someone believes that there's something out there helping along, you know, why are you kind of? Why is it right for one and wrong for the other?
Yeah, it's a well written line actually.
It's one of those. It's that speech where you can think, oh, yeah, you get me now.
Yeah, I agree. And then when they all started standing up, I was like, oh, you bastards. Bastards. That's it. Now I'm going.
You know that's going to come because, you know, the boss is there kind of, his fingers on the trigger ready to kind of sack him. And then it's like, what do you do now? Because basically there's still one game to go and that there's a chance of, you know,
winning the Major League. Yeah.
And that. So, it's, I mean, again, it's clever the fact that he's not there for the previous game, Roger, because of the court thing and that.
They lose that match, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah. And then it does all come down to that last game and that. But again, you know, Disney know what they're doing.
They do. All right. Do you want to hear about McConaughey's experience?
Yes.
So, as you can imagine, it's not massively in depth, this one, but it's quite a nice little moment. So he says, a week after that first audition, which I'll discuss in a later episode, I got called in for another one, this time for a Disney film called Angels in the Outfield. The role was that of an all-American baseball player named Ben Williams. I wore my American flag baseball cap and a white t-shirt for this job interview. I opened the door to enter, backlit by the afternoon sun. Whoa, look at you, all-American kid, a voice boomed from a couch opposite the entry door. I stopped in the doorway and looked down at the squinting man who was addressing me. Yes, sir, I said. You ever play baseball? He asked. 12 years, from 6 years old till I was 18. Great, you got the job. We start shooting in 2 weeks. 48,000 to play baseball for 10 weeks in Oakland? You kidding me? And I needed it. I only had 1,200 to my name at the time. I called my brother Pat to share the news. Fuck yeah, little brother. Super Bowl's coming up. Let's go to Vegas and celebrate. On me. So I just thought it's a fun little moment. And he mentions Pat about Dazed and Confused. He was his inspiration for the character of Wooderson. So Pat's a massive influence in his life. But I like the idea that he's kind of already playing the game. He kind of knows already. Like he's going to turn up looking like what he should look like for this movie. So the guy immediately goes, oh, yeah, you've got the right look. That's just smart, right? That's good business.
Yeah, it'd been pointless if you'd turned up, you know, basketball in one hand and, you know, basketball.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, sorry, did I get the wrong memo? But if he's going to go for, you know, when you go for a job interview, you try to look the part. You know, you try to look smart and that. He's obviously thought, this is what they want. That's what I'm going to give them. And if they could, I mean, you know, it's amusing the fact that he basically, just because he looks like he had a baseball cap and it's like, yeah, you can, you know, can you play? Yeah,
you're
hired. you know, and that.
Yeah.
But it worked, and that
Yeah.
I'm sure the fact that he probably did go to a lot of. I mean, I don't know what the one that you kind of alluded to before, but obviously that's going to come up at some point.
Yeah.
But it obviously works, and they
Yeah.
obviously thought, well, if this is how you get jobs, dress the part. I'm an actor, act the part.
Well, that's it. He's turning up to auditions already in part. Yeah. And I think, you said it at the start, and it's a nice way for us to start wrapping up. He just has a winning charm about him. And that is how he got the role in Dazed and Confused. He met the casting director in a bar. And instead of like going at him and saying, like, I'm an actor, give me a role, he spent the night drinking and charming him and getting on with him and being friendly. And the guy went, do you know what? You'd be good for this part. And in the back of McConaughey's mind, he's been hoping this is where this is going to go. But he's sort of already playing the game better than most people play it decades later, right at the very start of his career. He's a shrewd guy, clearly.
Yeah, he's obviously very clever.
Mm-hmm,
I mean, yes, we're a little bit jealous because you're good looking, you're clever, and that you're doing well for yourself, and that's. But the thing is, he's working hard for it. I'm sure there's lots of roles that he did go for and he probably didn't get, and that maybe his face just didn't fit for whatever reason. But he's then thought, right, okay, then what do I do to improve my chances? Dress the part.
Yeah, definitely. All right, letterbox review and then your review.
Okay.
Graham says, genuinely one of the worst films I've seen in a while. This feels like a painting of cliches, bland storylines, one-dimensional characters, and terrible performances. Danny Glover is the only one doing a decent job here. This film just feels so tacky, which is insane to me because this has a great cast. Danny Glover, Tony Danza, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Matthew McConaughey, Christopher Lloyd, Adrian Brody, Dermot Mulroney, and so much more. There were some goodish moments here, like the ending, which was again incredibly cliche, but it was still sweet and a little bit emotional. But overall, this film is so tacky and it feels like a straight to VHS movie. As if that's a bad thing.
No. Some people make podcasts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Poor old Graham's not a fan.
No.
Willen Forstow says, I absolutely love this movie. It surprises me when I see all these other actors from other movies. Probably the biggest one for me was seeing Matthew McConaughey as one of the baseball players. This was a childhood favourite and still hits a home run with me to this day.
I wonder what the age of the previous one was when he watched it. Because the thing is, I was born 78. I grew up watching films like this. So going back and watching them again, they still hit you a certain way.
Yeah.
Maybe if I'd have shown this to me elder kids, they'd have gone, okay.
Yeah.
So it could be just, an age, there's certain films you can go back and watch from like the 50s and 60s and they just don't hit you the way they would with your mum and dad.
Yeah.
It could be just a time thing, but, he's entitled to his opinion.
And nostalgia as well, isn't it? Nostalgia plays a big part. So that second review, clearly this person watched it when they were younger. They've got a fondness for it, and that fondness remains into adulthood too, doesn't it? I'm the same as you. I showed the trailer to my eldest, who's 12, and I was like, "Oh, fancy watching this tonight?" And he was like, "No, thanks, Dad." So clearly, it's not working for the younger generation.
No. But again, it's like that bike scene when they're just out there. That kind of brings certain things back and you think, I can see myself doing that. I can see myself doing certain things. So you're along with the ride. Whereas, you show a kid these days and they're like, they're not playing Fortnite. No. The internet wasn't really around there. I mean, there was internet, but it wasn't like widespread. Not everyone could kind of go on it. So.
Yeah, bro. All right, so within McConaughey's filmography, just specifically about him and his performance and his journey, is this one of his classic movies? Is it a movie that is worth catching, or is it just for completists only?
for this is an awkward one. For just McConaughey, for just him, I think it's completely solely.
Fair. Okay.
Because he's, as a film itself, I think it's worth catching. Because I really enjoyed it. But I think if you, obviously I came to watch it for McConaughey, but I think he's not in it a lot. So if you come in just for him, then it's a complete.
Yeah. No, I think that's totally fair. And I think, it's symptomatic of where he is in his career right now. Classic to start, followed by 2 completist movies. He's not had this stratospheric leap. He's having to pay his dues a little bit, as I said at the start.
Yeah, which, again, it's not on the film. If you just come in from McConaughey, it is a completist film. And that, whether the film is a 10 out of 10 or a 1 out of 10, it's irrelevant. He's not in it enough.
Yeah.
And what he does on screen is fine, but it's not like, life changing. It doesn't kind of make it.
There's no growth for him here. There's no moment where you suddenly go, "Oh, I can see who he's going to be." Or I agree with you.
What about you? You agree the same then? Yeah,
I think it needs to be. Yeah, I don't think he does anywhere near enough in this. More than My Boyfriend's Back. Don't get me wrong; it's a step in the right direction, but we're still a bit off from where we need to be in terms of him making an impact on the career he's going to have.
Looking at the IMDb, at least he's actually got a name in this. Where
yeah, that's true.
Guy 2.
He is literally Guy 2. My Boyfriend's Back.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's a start.
Yeah.
I mean, he's gone from the brilliant Dazed and Confused to a dodgy one to a so-so, and then your next times. I don't know if you. I vaguely remember the film.
It's not a film I have seen before.
Isn't? Right.
So it's going to be an interesting one.
I vaguely remember it. I don't remember it in anything because I used to like horrors, and then I kind of went away from a bit, and I don't think it was a very good one, but it was kind of a remake of the original. So
it's sort of meant to be a bit of a reboot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't put a lot of stock in things like Rotten Tomatoes and ratings like that, but if the fact that it's 16% critics and 17% audience is anything to go by, it's not going to be a highlight of his career, I don't think.
Well, then again, you might watch it and maybe he's really. I mean, again, I don't really remember that much about it, so I can't remember. I can't remember that much how hitting he was in the film. I do know I've seen it.
Fair enough. Bro, mate, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. And I think, sterling job. And, you didn't have to defend this one too much today.
No. It was a better one.
Certainly was.
No 13.
Definitely not. Bro, thank you so much. That was great. I really enjoyed that. And thank you, everyone, for listening and partaking in this journey with me through the McConaissance. That was Angels in the Outfield. Next up in a fortnight, I'm joined by Spider Dan to discuss Eminem's appearance as Vilma in Kim Henkel's The Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, aka Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, for those that are watching along. Until next time, be excellent to each other and make sure you take the time to treat yourself too. I am Jack signing off. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers.
Cut.